by some pretty amazing folks on the phone with me. I've got Ann Lesserman to my left, who is the Manager of Community Services. I've got Angela Mabry on the phone, who is the current chair of the NYA, and some really incredible NYA members, Marianne and Kiera, to talk a little bit about some of their experiences in the NYA. And I know everyone is probably really excited to reconnect with other folks from camp. So hopefully at the end we'll be able to chit-chat a little bit and talk a little bit about your experiences and how you guys want to sort of stay involved for the rest of the year. So there is an option on your screen to be able to ask questions. So if you on the phone, if any of you guys have any questions at any point, feel free to ask, and we will stop and answer them as best we can. No guarantees, okay? We'll answer them as best we can. So let's get rolling. So this is me. I'm Jennifer Simpson. That on my left, that wonderful and amazing person there is Angela, and she is the the chair of the NYA.
And some of you will recognize Seth from camp on the left.
Yes.
With the thing on his head.
Yes, both looking very excited because they both won awards at convention this past year for all the work that they have done on behalf of youth and on behalf of the HD community. So, minor disclaimer, yada, 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 but, you know, don't take anything that we say as medical advice. Suffice to say, I am not a doctor, so if you have any questions about that, please consult your physician. Everyone on this call does not have any financial relationships or commercial interests relevant, again, yada, 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 to disclose. So let's get down to all more fun business. So what we're going to be talking a little bit about today is, you know, what is the NYA and what are sort of the main points of what you can get as an NYA member and what you can do as an NYA member, most importantly. So we'll start out with, what is the NYA? And if you're like my man Han Solo here, when you first sort of came into the HD community, you might have had a lot of different acronyms thrown your way. HDSA, NYA, HSG, blah, blah, blah. So your first question might be, NYA, what are you talking about? What does that even mean? So the NYA, I think, and Angela can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but can really be sort of defined by three different pillars: community, support, and action and awareness. These are sort of the three huge things that the NYA brings to youth in the HD community and is able to provide for young people affected by HD. So why don't we start out with the community? What about NYA? How does NYA create a community for youth affected by HD? So the first is that the NYA is pretty big. The NYA is made up of over 500 youth and young adults affected by HD across the country. They live all over the continental U.S., and they bring awareness of the needs of HD-affected youth to support groups, to centers of excellence, and also to fundraising and educational events all over the country. They also foster opportunities for youth affected by HD to meet up and reunite through events like NYA Day, advocacy fly-ins, and through partnerships with YPAD, HDO to create the North American Youth Camp, which I think a lot of you were able to attend. And you can see how great it is to be able to have a group of people who can understand what you've been going through as someone who has HD in their family. And to go a little bit more into NYA Day, so we host NYA Day every year at HDSA's National Convention. So this is an entire day, and Angela, I know you can talk a little bit more about this later if you want to, because it's such an amazing experience. But it's an entire day dedicated to youth and providing information, support, community, programming for NYA members around the country. And also, NYA does fundraising throughout the year to provide folks with scholarships to attend convention, so that no matter where you are, you can have the opportunity to find yourself at NYA Day and to be able to participate in something as great as NYA Day. So here I just want to take a second and throw it out to some of the people we've got on the phone, some of the great members we've got on the phone. I know we've got Kiara on the phone, and I think we might also have Marianne. Kiara, are you there?
Yes.
Hey, Kiara. So I was
Hi.
wondering if you could talk a little bit about what it's been like for you as part of the NYA to find other kids, other youth who kind of knew what your life experience has been like.
It's been like a really amazing experience. I mean, I've only been involved for like 2 years now with the Huntington's Disease Society of America itself and like our Western PA chapter, but like being able for the first time this year to experience Dallas and to like sit in a room with people my age who understand this awful disease as much as I do, it's just like it's such an amazing feeling, and I can feel like I get like little butterflies in my stomach just talking about it because like I'm reminded of just, when you first get HD, you find out HD is in your family and you start to like educate yourself and find out more. It's always such an isolating feeling because you start reading the statistics about how rare it is and how, there's not a lot of care for your loved one, and, you have to look at all the right places and all that stuff. And so going to Dallas for me was just like so amazing because, again, like I said, you just sit in that room and for once in your life, your Huntington's disease journey isn't like so lonely. I hate to say it's lonely because, I mean, I do have lovely family members and lovely, a great boyfriend and an older sister who understands, but, moving away from family and people who are around it with you and being with just a community who comes from all over the country and, has experiences with HD, it's a really amazing feeling.
Thank you so much. And I know that coming to Dallas, especially coming to convention, is a really just a unique experience for someone with HD and their family to see people not only from your area but from across the country who can understand, and to feel so much less isolated than you might feel at other times throughout the year. Now, Kira, have you experienced also being able to find people who are other young people affected by HD in your local area?
Yeah, we met up with Morgan McLean. We've known him. He was actually like the first person that we really met in our area. So like even though he's not really on the same age bracket as I am, it was really nice. We went out to lunch with him and Amanda Butterworth, who was in town the other day, and that was a really, a nice lunch to go to and talk about things and all catch up. So I have been able to meet a few youth in my area, yes.
That's amazing. And so what was that, not to sort of throw you on the spot again a little bit, but how did it make you feel to have that experience of not only going somewhere and seeing people all across the country, but going even within your state, within your section of Pennsylvania, and being able to find people who knew what you were talking about?
It was really nice. Like, I mean, we went to a local restaurant and we sat there. I think we got there right around noon and we didn't leave until almost 4 in the afternoon. Like, it's so amazing to just be able to open up and talk, and, the similarities you find in your stories are just astounding, and, I love finding those similarities and being understood for a couple minutes in my life or a couple hours.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to say, so much of what the NYA is also about is to be able to create those connections and create that sense of community to say, hey, folks, in everyday life it might feel like this is a journey that you're going through alone, but there is this whole group of kids and young adults, whether they're 5 years older than you, 6 years older than you, 5 years younger than you, who know what you're going through and who want to talk about it, who don't want to be sort of sitting in silence about HD, who are really, really willing and look forward to being open about Huntington's disease. So the other thing that the NYA, again, shout out to Angela for this meme, is that, there are
I always
NYA...
imagine that's what your face looks like when I talk to you about NYA stuff.
Not at all. If anything, I'm the Buzz Lightyear in that photo. So, there are, again, just to sort of reiterate this point, there are NYA members all over the country who know what your experience is, who can relate to, the difficulty of having a parent, having a loved one, having a sibling, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent who is affected by HD or who is HD symptomatic. And they're there to connect. They're there to support to support you and to find support from you going through this experience. And they're also there to help you in your efforts to raise awareness. The other thing, again, to sort of harp on a similar point, but it's support. The NYA is also here to provide young folks throughout the country with support to make you know that, through all the challenges that you're facing, being a young person who might be at risk, a young person who might be a caregiver, a young person who might have just found out that Huntington's disease is in their family, that there are services out there for you, and that can help you. So we know that finding support as a young person dealing with HD is really, really hard. And that's why the NYA works not only to create networks of support for NYA members by finding ways to connect you with other folks, not unlike Kiera finding Morgan and Amanda, but also by trying to connect you and spread awareness of services around the country. Services like peer and professionally led support groups, like HDSA regional and local social workers, like centers of excellence for coordinated care. So much of the NYA is also making sure that you know what's out there for you. I think sometimes young people will think, oh, the social workers, they're there for, my mom or for my dad because they're the one who might be HD symptomatic, but they're there for you too. They're there because HD is not an individual disease, it's a family disease. So they're there to support you too. And same thing goes for the support groups. There are peer and professionally led support groups throughout the country. And I'm going to shout out to you, how many support groups do we have right now?
We have about 165 support groups throughout the country.
165 support groups throughout the country. That is a lot of support groups. And those are there not only for caregivers, not only for folks affected by HD, but they are also there for for young people who might be starting that role as a caregiver, who might find themselves in a caregiver role before they thought they had to, who might be thinking about, how do I, I'm going off to college, what does that mean if I have someone who is affected by HD back at home, or who are just dealing with the effects of having someone who's symptomatic in their family. So they are there for you too. And the same thing with the Centers of Excellence. There's care that is provided at 29 Centers of Excellence throughout the country for someone who's affected by HD. But there's also care there through social workers, through PTs and OTs for the family members as well. So nobody is alone. And they're also there to help you if you're starting on a journey of caregiving, to help you out because you don't have to go through that alone, to help show you where the resources are. And to that point, NYA members are not only benefiting from these services, but they're also working to make sure that those services are even more widely available around the U.S. by raising awareness and making sure that folks are paying attention to the needs of youth. So the great part about NYA is you're not only benefiting from these, but you're making sure that others are benefiting from it as well by constantly raising awareness about what it is that youth affected by HD are looking for and what youth affected by HD need, so that those needs can be met. Okay. So just to sort of give you a sense of what a network of support as an NYA member can look like, for these two people, just by being part of the NYA, by reaching out, by connecting with others, they were able to find these huge networks of other folks who are going through similar experiences, who are, who know what the HD experience is like, and also brought a lot of those people in to then find their own networks of support. So even just by being a part of the NYA, by lending your voice, by sort of raising your hand to say, this affects me and I want to be involved, you could find so much support, so much community, and so much love around you to be able to help you through this journey and to not quite feel like you're the only one around who knows what it's like to have a parent or have a loved one affected by HD. So the last piece to talk about is action and awareness. And that is a really amazing point of what the NYA is able to do. So, and this is something that I have a deep, deep love for in terms of what the NYA does. So one of the areas where NYA members have really made huge differences for the HD community is through advocacy. Through direct action, NYA members have been able to change the hearts and minds of members of Congress to support legislation that will really benefit people within the HD community. For example, the Huntington's Disease Parity Act. And just to give a little bit of a shout out to how amazing the NYA has been, and these numbers actually can be updated. But since July 1st, so that's right after convention, NYA members have had, the number is actually 150 meetings on Capitol Hill, and pushed us to a historic 200 co-sponsors of the HD Parity Act in the House, which is more than has ever, more members of Congress than have ever supported this bill ever before, and it's because NYA members got together, decided that they wanted to do something about it, and came to DC and had meetings on Capitol Hill. And they told their stories and what's happening in their families and what's happening to them and why this bill is important. You know, the number of legislators who now know what Huntington's disease is exponentially larger because of the work of NYA members, both at home in the district and by going out to DC for things like fly-ins. And again, you know, and you can see in the picture, you know, that's a group of NYA members who were able to go down to DC to have a meeting with a guy named Representative Sam Johnson, who is an extremely powerful member of the House of Representatives and now has HD as sort of a pet cause of his. He's really, really fighting for the HD community, and it's all because NYA members went down to DC and met with him in person and told them his story, told him their stories, educated him about Huntington's disease, and decided that they wanted to do something about it. And Angela, I'm going to call you out a little bit on this. You know, as someone who's a chair of the NYA, what have you heard from other members about what it's been like to participate in, you know, action and awareness-raising campaigns as an NYA member?
For NYA members that are really taking part in the fly-ins and being part of advocacy at home and really getting involved and putting themselves out there for not only the NYA but the HD community as a whole, they're really finding that they're getting a lot back from it just as personally. Being a part of the fight against Huntington's disease is so much more than a fundraiser, and it's so much more than the problems and issues that we might be having at home. And to see our members really putting themselves out there and sharing their stories and being willing to talk about what they have going on at home with our members of Congress, with senators, with representatives from across the country, it's really bringing us together in a way that I've never, ever seen before in my years with the NYA. And it's really showing us that together we're much more powerful than we are on our own. And by coming together and being a team and being a group of not just young people and not just kids, but we're becoming a movement in the HD community, and it's not going unnoticed. Obviously, with how many co-sponsors we've helped and been able to get from all of the work that our members are doing by really taking a part in this fight against Huntington's disease. And when I hear from them their experiences, because I always call in and I always kind of bug them when they're there in DC still and in between meetings, and what did you guys do, what did you talk to them about? It's really gratifying for me to know that they're there and they're doing this not just for themselves, but not just for my family, but for all the families across the entire country that are having to fight and be part of this fight against Huntington's disease. And like I said, it's not just for them and it's not just for me, it's for everybody across the country. So that's one of the biggest things, one of the most inspiring things about what the NYA does.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. And the other thing that I think is really great about that, and I can say, sir, from being in those meetings, is although, you know, the pictures below, you can see some of us are maybe a little on the older side, you know, getting up in the sort of 20s age range. There are also folks who are going down to DC and holding meetings who are, you know, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, you know, anybody can do this. This is a really amazing part about something that the NYA does, is that it's open to everybody. Whether you are, at one end at 29 or at the other end at 9, this is something that you can do, and you can take action. You can make real serious difference. Just this past flying, we had someone come down who was 11 and met with senators and met with representatives and has already affected 3 different members of the House of Representatives to sign on to this bill. So, that's, I think, something that really speaks to how great and how inclusive the NYA can be, is that no matter what age you are, you can participate and you can make a difference. And just to sort of illustrate that point, you can see in the middle here is the lovely Amanda Butterworth. And through her meetings, she has been able to, I want to 17, 9, 10, 11, 12, like 13 different members of Congress, many of whom are signed on to our bill, about what Huntington's disease is. And all these members of Congress now know that this is a disease that's affecting people in their districts, and that it's a disease that they have to pay attention to. So one person can really make a huge impact, and it could be, it could be you. The other thing that NYA members are doing not only is advocacy, but education. NYA members are around the country doing presenting at things like education days, at centers of excellence, at chapter events, and educating the larger and the broader public about what Huntington's disease is. Right here you see Jolene Luther, who presented at an education day for the University of Iowa's Center of Excellence. And she also had them screen the film The Lion's Mouth Opens and tell people how they can get involved. And it was a packed house. She was able to reach, through her actions, I want to say probably 100 people, not all of whom are affected by HD. So she was able to reach a ton of people and let them know what Huntington's is and how important it is to pay attention to this issue. The lovely Marianne, who I think unfortunately had to leave us, she went on Fox News, foxnews.com, and touched thousands of people just by telling her story. She let people know that she was from an HD family, that her that her mother was affected by HD and what that was like for her. And just by doing an interview, she brought awareness to, again, thousands of people, most of whom will have probably had never heard of Huntington's before that. So again, NYA members are really making a difference. And it can range from things like speaking at a smaller event to going on television.
I'm still here just to let you know.
Oh, hi. All right, I'm going to go back then and have you just sort of talk a little bit about what that experience was like for you.
Okay.
What was it, as a young person, as an NYA member, to take such a huge stand, to go out on television and talk about Huntington's disease?
So I was actually only an NYA member for probably about not even a month at this point, and it was right after my first fly-in down to DC, and I got a phone call from Jason Gromley, and he's like, "So you want to step out of your comfort zone?" And I'm like, "Maybe." And so he made me say yes before I even knew what I was saying yes to, and he told me about it, and he coached me, and it was probably one of the most amazing experiences. The lady that interviewed me beforehand, she just spoke to me probably for about 15 minutes just what Huntington's disease was, so she had no idea what it was. And just everyone in that studio at that time just was so emotional and just knew what, after me being able to talk about Huntington's disease and my experience and my family and my mom and my situation now, they all learned from it. And I was able to reach so many people that you can't just do through different events in your hometown or just through Facebook or whatever it may be.
Now, I know also, Marianne, that being involved and being active has become sort of a family thing for you as well, that your sister, Sam, is also involved. What has that been like for you to see not only have yourself find this, sort of advocacy community and support through the NYA, but also see that start to grow in your sister as well? What has that been like?
So last year, I went to convention in Louisville, and I was part of the HDSA Greater New York chapter board, and that's how I got sent there. It was my first year on the board, and I was wondering who all these cool people with all the matching shirts were, the young people like my age, and it was the NYA, and that's where I learned about it. And my sister was there with me, and she was more quiet throughout the whole thing. And it wasn't until this past convention in Dallas when I was there with the NYA, and I had, she came in a day later after NYA Day, and she saw like everybody's connection, just how you never felt more comfortable in your entire life with people you have no idea who they are, but yet I felt like I was related to them, and they understood me on a different level than my best friends don't understand. And she saw that, and right after that, she came down with me to DC, and she's been on board ever since. And it's been amazing to watch her grow through that and just be able to even just say the word Huntington's disease, because she's put up this wall and it's been the elephant in the room all the time, whereas I want to like knock down that wall and talk about it all the time. She has this wall up like so many people do. And now it's amazing to watch her grow into it's been amazing.
Wow. So, so in your case, you've not only seen the community come from outside, finding other people outside of your area, outside of New York, who understand you and who understand what it's like to grow up in an HD family, but it's also helped you to create community within your own family by sort of helping your sister see that there are people there for her too, that it's not this taboo topic that no one can talk about and we can't discuss, but that there is space and there is support and there are people there to help you through that.
Yes, definitely.
Now, Kiera, are you still on too?
Yes.
Okay. So, Kiera, I know your sister is also a little bit involved. Can you talk a little bit about what it's been like to have this sort of familial connection to sort of NYA and to community? What has it been like to see your sister be a part of this too?
Well, my sister, unlike Mary Ann's sister, was, we've both always been on board with support for Huntington's disease. But what was really amazing is in Dallas, at some of the sharing sessions, my sister, I've always been a lot more open about, like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like, I'll talk about Huntington's to anyone who will listen to me. I'll tell them my mom has it. I'll tell them, like, the whole family history. I don't care, anything to talk about Huntington's. But my sister was a lot more reserved, and it's not that she did not want to talk about Huntington's, but she had a lot harder time sharing, like, oh, well, my mom has it, and the more personal rather than just, like, the statistics, right? So it was really amazing to see her at the group sharing sessions, like, talking about my mom and talking, really opening up, because she has such a hard time opening up sometimes. So, like, it was really awesome for me to see her kind of come out of her shell a little bit, like, because we're kind of opposite in that way. I'm very open, and, it was nice to see her be more open.
Yeah. So, I'm sure a lot of young folks who are affected by HD know there are a lot of dynamics that occur both between your family and the outside world and within your own family. So it seems like one of the things that NYA and being involved in HDSA and being involved in the NYA has done is also to sort of open up some of those boundaries, to tear down some of those walls for people to be able to have more honest and open and supportive conversations about Huntington's disease and about what everyone is going through, having to deal with HD. So that's another really wonderful thing that can come from being a part of not only HDSA, but being a part of the NYA and being a part of this really great supportive community of young folks. So another thing that I really want to emphasize is that you do not have to be 18 or older to be a part of the NYA and to be really effective. Malia here is in elementary school, and she organized a jogathon and had a local news station come and cover it. So she was able to talk to other kids in her school, to talk to her teachers, to talk to her community at large about what Huntington's disease is, and to make people aware that this is something that's affecting her and affecting other people in her community. So much, again, of what the NYA does is not only providing that community and support, but giving young people an avenue towards action and giving young people an avenue towards doing something about this really terrible disease, whether it's raising awareness, raising funds, or going and speaking out to members of Congress and getting some real change happening for members of the HD community. And to that last point about fundraising, here we've got the lovely Morgan, who unfortunately was not able to join us for this call, but was at camp for one of the days, and from what he said, had an amazing, amazing time. He runs one of his passions is auto racing, so he runs a auto racing competition every year for the past 8 years and raises money and raises awareness for Huntington's disease. He also does a lot of cross-country road trips where he raises awareness for Huntington's disease, either by having a car outfitted with HDSA's logo, with things like Cure HD. So he'll, stop in random parts of the country, and people will ask him, what is that on your car? What is HD? What's Huntington's disease? And he, just by being there, just by driving around with this car, is able to open up those conversations with folks who probably would never in their lives ever have encountered Huntington's disease, and now they know. So there are so many different ways and so many different opportunities for people to be able to be active, to be able to raise awareness in whatever way is really comfortable and fun for them. And in doing it, you get to make a ton of friends, you get to make a ton of connections. And from what I've heard, you get to feel really, really good about not being isolated, not being alone, and knowing that there are people there who really understand what on earth it is that you're going through. Yeah, and making a huge impact. So hopefully if my tech skills are savvy enough, there's a video here that will load. But I don't know if they are today. But what it is, and I really hope that people go and check it out if it doesn't end up loading here, is there is an incredible video that you can see about the NYA at www.hdsa.org/NYA. And it can give you sort of all the impact and information you need about what it's like to be around other people, to be in a room full of kids who know what you're talking about, full of young adults who know exactly what it's like to grow up in a family like yours. And to also see a room full of kids where that is their truth. Have fun, be free, be able to enjoy themselves, be able to feel the most themselves that they've ever felt. And that is something that, as a member of the NYA, I think is one of the best things that you can get out of it. And Angela, as an organizer of NYA Day, what is it like for you to see kids, to see young folks at NYA Day, at talent shows, at convention, feeling, you can see them kind of feeling natural, feeling like they don't have to hide. What is that like for you as someone who's so involved in the NYA?
It's astounding. It's probably the best feeling in the world next to eating cookies. It's amazing. We spend several months throughout the year in our planning process for NYA Day and trying to make it really all about the youth, about education, about research and awareness and advocacy and the things that we have going on and how you guys can get involved. But it's really amazing to kind of see as everybody trickles down into breakfast time and gets ready in the room, and just seeing everybody's walls kind of fall down and the barriers that we put up because Huntington's disease is what it is. And we're so used to maybe not necessarily hiding it from the world, but it's the one place that you can go and say, well, who are you and what's your story? And you go, oh, my name's Angela and my dad had Huntington's and my brother has juvenile Huntington's. And they go, oh, that's great. Tell me what else about you? Awesome. What else? I've seen numerous lifelong friendships be formed in NYA Day, and I can attest to that myself. Some of the best people I have ever met are because of the NYA, and I don't know who I would be without them in my life. And they've really helped me through my own struggles with Huntington's disease, and that's really what we're here for, is to help each other and be there for one another. But seeing NYA unfold and seeing the talent show unfold, I mean, I can sit in the front row and record everybody's talents, but I'm sitting there behind the camera just crying because of how amazing you guys are and how amazing the youth is and how powerful really we've become, and we're just amazing. We're doing amazing things, and we want everyone to be a part of it, no matter how young or how old, because nobody ages out. We just get old.
I like to think of you all as like you know, fine wines. You all age very well. It's all a good thing.
I call everybody my kids, and like half of them are older than me. I'm like, my kids. They're like, no, Angela, we're almost 30.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You know, you talk about those intense friendships that form through the NYA, through things like NYA Day, through talent show, through convention, and then get sort of taken home through the rest of the year. You know, that's something I think, again, about the NYA that's so amazing, is that through participating, through, you know, going to things like advocacy fly-ins, through attending events in your area, whether it's an NYA event or whether it's, you know, a Team Hope walk or an education day, you know, you're going to be able to connect with other folks who know what your experience is, and where you don't have to feel like, oh, I can't talk about this here. I can't, you know, I don't want to, you know, bring everybody down, or I don't want to feel strange here, like people aren't going to know what I'm talking about. You know, this is a space and it's a place where, and it's a group where that's not going to be the case. And for a lot of kids out there who are affected by HD, it might be the only place that they have that's like that. So that's one of the things that for NYA I think is probably one of the most impactful things for members. Now, in conclusion, give yourself a high five here, like my girl Liz Lemon, for wanting to be involved, for wanting to know more, for wanting to sort of stand up and speak up about Huntington's disease in your community and, you know, to the U.S. at large, and to be able and to want to form those connections with folks in your area and around the country. So the other question that I would have for our folks on the line here today is, you know, how do you want to make a difference? You know, if as part of the NYA, as being part of this great group, this great organization, HDSA and the NYA, you have the opportunity to make a huge difference, not only for yourself, but for the other folks who are in the NYA and for all the people in the HD community, whether it's by being an awareness raiser, whether it's being an advocate, whether it's, you know, recruiting other people you know to be part of the NYA so that they can form networks of support, whether it's attending an event like a youth camp or a regional day or an education day to talk about HD-affected youth and to talk about your experience. You know, this is an opportunity that you have to make such a huge impact on the HD community and on other folks who are just like you. So with that, that's sort of the whole spiel that I have about the NYA. You know, this is a great time for those who are on the call with us. If you guys have any questions or have any thoughts about how you guys want to make a difference, about how you might want to be involved in the NYA, this is a great time to ask that. But if you don't want to ask it here, if you feel like you want to ask one-on-one, that's okay. You can reach out to the NYA at, Angela, what's the best way to get in contact?
NYAboard@gmail.com.
To repeat, that's NYABOARD@gmail.com. You can reach out. People are here to answer your questions, to let you know how to get involved. If you're feeling like, hey, you know, I want to know, is there an education event happening in my area? Is there a, you know, a Team Hope walk? Is there something that I can do? You know, the NYA is here to help you out and to let you know exactly how you can get involved and how you can be involved all year round. So with that, it doesn't look like we have any questions right now, which is okay. Are there any final thoughts from our our lovely NYAers on the phone, Angela, Kiara, or Marianne. Any final thoughts on NYA?
I think that it's a great time to get involved with the NYA. We've come really far from when I began in the NYA. Just like many of you, I showed up at NYA Day, my first time ever, first time being at convention, and I was astounded by the amount of support that I have been able to get since then and the people that I've met mostly. I know I can call on them any day, anytime, whenever I need them, and they're always there to listen, and that's what we want to be for you guys. We want you to feel free to call us, send us a Facebook message or an email. Jennifer can attest, I am always connected. I am always available. We don't want anybody to feel alone or like they don't have support, because you do. And it might not be your next door neighbor, but we're here for you, and we're family. And at the end of the day, that's really what we become, is a family involved because of Huntington's disease, but it's so much more than that. We take pride in what everybody's up to. I know we just had a bunch of NYA members start college, and it's almost like sending my own kids off to school. I'm like, no, you're growing up so fast. But it really is. I mean, we really are a family, and we are wanting to be there for you guys and making sure that you have the support that you need when you go back home after camp, after retreats, after regional events, after convention. We don't want anybody to go home and feel like they're alone again. We want you to reach out to us so we can get you the resources and the support and the family that you need in your own community.
Awesome.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Angela. Any other thoughts from Kiara or Marianne?
I think you guys have said it all. You summed it up so well.
I completely agree. Angela's the best, by the way.
Yes. Round of applause for Angela.
Thank you all.
Yes. Thank you all for being with us on the call. If you are watching this afterwards, thank you for taking the time to learn about the NYA. Again, please get in contact, whether it's at nyaboard@gmail.com or through the NYA's Facebook page. Reach out. We're here. We want to hear from you, and we want you to get involved. And we want to know how you want to make a difference, because we are here to support you in that. So with that, we will end our session today. Thank you again to everybody who's on the call with us today. Thank you to our lovely, lovely presenters, Angela Mabry, Marianne Emmerich, Kiara Wood, the lovely Ann Lesserman, who I have with me here.
And the lovely Jennifer Simpson.
Oh, you're welcome.
Woo! Good job, guys.
This has been great. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And have a great day.